true. We've got stories to share and chores to do. Marriage and mayhem under the sky so blue. Welcome to the good life. We'll pull you through. Rural roots and cowboy boots.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Rural Roots and Cowboy Boots. I'm Patrick, professional fence jumper, self-diagnosed genius.
And I'm Amy, official keeper of the Clorox wipes and the sanity around here.
Today we're saluting National Day of the Cowboy, celebrating every dent we've ever put in the truck door.
Then we'll praise the women who glue the wheels back on that pickup truck, swap notes on how very differently Patrick and I handle anxiety, and finish on the screen porch talking rural mental health while the gnats try to carry us away.
Grab a seat, kick off those boots, and let's ride.
Hey, can you actually believe that we have made this a 5-segment thing? Like, we've actually done this for 5 segments now.
It's coming in a habit.
Like, who would have thought that you and I would actually follow through with a commitment for 5?
Right.
I know, like, we're the most non-committal people. And so...
And if the people knew all the work that goes into making a podcast and how, like, I'm about, like, to pull out what hair I have left.
Very,
and we're
very...
still, and just on our Sunday rituals is like thrown all out of whack, and it's messing me up.
Right, very much so. This is definitely a thing. But last night we were enjoying dinner with our kids, and I happened to be scrolling social media, and I realized that we almost missed a national holiday.
I know.
The National Day of the Cowboy. I have been celebrating every day as National Day of the Cowboy for the past 30 years being married to you.
We're so great that they finally like made this a thing. Like, we are a holiday now.
Oh, you're a holiday,
right?
All right. Yeah,
right?
You're off.
But you know, it's funny how we always talk about that, you know, the Cowboy way is that, you know, we do stupid crap.
Very much so.
Are you impressed that I say crap instead of shit?
I appreciate that. For those of you who are wondering, I have really tried to like make sure this stays PG. And several friends have commented that their children are listening in the car, and I'm like, yeah. It's very rare that you talk cowboy without a few explicit words.
We're descriptive.
Okay, so yes, so cowboys are heroes, and we definitely, you know, my heroes have always been cowboys and all those songs and all that stuff. But cowboys in general are also just known for being
morons.
Spoken from a true cowboy. So tell us exactly, like, what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, it's just like it's not the sensible person will never do the crap that we do. Like, for instance, one day when on the radio team had to we didn't have to.
Okay, so let's preface this again for those who may not have gotten our first episode and introduced who we were. Patrick was on the NC State University rodeo team when we first met.
Right.
Okay.
And we got hired to manage the calves for the reining show.
Okay.
And just a couple hundred pins ahead of 500 weight calves. You know, it's a cutting horse show, sorry. And anyways, it was our job to feed them, water them, bring them in the arena, out of the arena. But the contractor, the stock contractor for the event, well, he was a cowboy.
Okay.
And he gave us his credit card and told us to buy all the beer that we needed for the night.
Oh, no.
And in the middle of the night, we somehow got up the whole idea, it would be fun to ride these calves around these pens without any gear. And we woke up next morning, I had a hoof print in the center of my daggone chest. It was like, well, how did I get there? But anyhow, or taking the hot shots behind people, if you're working the pens and somebody's on the catwalk, hit him in the back of the knee, watch him flop. We just do stupid stuff. And it's funny because, like, it took you a while to, like, just roll your eyes and whatever. But, like, and then we've raised up our kids this way. I mean, they do stupid crap, right?
Very much so.
And then, like, the kids, the girls that Caden dates, the first thing I always say is, it's not going to last. And they go, oh, I love him. And I'm like, yeah, but he's going to do stupid shit because he's developed to do stupid shit.
Because it's in his DNA.
Right.
Because he is like his dad.
We train
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, the official Cowboy IQ test is to figure out how tight you can cinch something with duct tape before it falls apart.
Okay.
We're gonna tear the crap up.
Well, and I used to kind of think that maybe this was just a Patrick thing, right? Like, this is not inbred in the nature of the cowboy until our travels years ago took us to a hotel in Cheyenne, Wyoming, where historically has cowboys and, a great rodeo. And we stayed at an old hotel.
Right.
And the hotel had a sign there. And what did the sign say?
No horses in the elevator.
True story. And it said no horses in the elevator. And we were like, is that a real problem? That, like, people would take their horses in the elevator? And then we learned. Right.
And it's because when the hotel was formed, the Cowboys had a choice of putting their horses in delivery or keeping with them in the hotel. And so they chose the hotel because it was cheap, but also that way they were with them. But then, and we followed that up with a couple years ago, we were in Fort Worth, and our friend Mike from Kansas, his dad won Grand Champion Bull at the Fort Worth Stock Show when he was a kid.
Okay.
And they were so scared to leave the bull out there at the stock show grounds that they put the bull in the hotel room with them.
And again, so I grew up with hunting. Like,
right.
I did not grow up with this cowboy mentality. Right. So I'm aware of a good hunting dog.
Right.
Yes, you sneak it in you don't leave it in the dog box at night. Like,
right.
I am very aware of that.
Not a bull.
Not a bull. Not a horse. Not some of these things. But I have to say, a lot of times I think Patrick is full of it. And sometimes he is. But I have seen the receipts for
right.
some of this to actually know it's true.
Right.
And even for us, owning a meat processing plant, and how we raise our children, again, we value education until the cows get out. And when the cows get out, all bets are off.
Right.
And, I distinctly remember our daughter being in middle school and one of our customers had been unloading cattle and one of the cows got loose off the trailer in the middle of the town,
right.
and we had the police and we had everybody, cow on the loose. You've all seen it on the news
right.
at some point. Well, it happened in our world, and Patrick's immediate response was, we need to go get our daughter.
Right.
And so we did. We signed her out,
yep.
and she was, 13?
It was, no, not even that. She was in 6th grade,
yeah.
7th grade. But it was the first day in her whole school career that she ever wore a dress.
Yeah, because
it was the last day she never wore a dress again.
Because she always kind of was like, I don't ever know what my day is going to be.
Right.
But I distinctly remember, again, stupid crap Cowboys do, that we were trying to wrangle this animal, and there was an alleyway, a cleared alleyway, and after you had signed out our daughter, you told her to stand right here. Just stand. And she's like, what do I do if this cow comes? We'll come find you. Just get it. And even now I think about that and I'm like, I don't know that child services would really have appreciated what we did. I don't know that, we've necessarily done all the right things in that world, but
Put
yes.
hair on their chest.
Yes.
But, what's funny is in 2005, the Senate passed a resolution for the National Cowboy Day. And I read, it was the cowboy spirit continues to infuse this country with a solid character, sound family values, and good common sense. What more can you say? That's what we are.
Good common sense. Good common sense. Yes, I was going to say. And again, everybody knows that if there's 3 cowboys in the truck, which one's not the real cowboy?
The one
in the middle, because they're not the one who's opening the gates and doing all the things. So I'm not real sure that common sense has been a part of our marriage for the past 30 years and the lifestyle that we live. But I will definitely agree that the cowboy way and that work ethic is definitely a fearless mindset, and learning how to laugh when you are face planted in the middle of the cow manure.
Right. So, behind every cowboy though is a cowgirl with her broom and her halo.
He says that because I had to buy a new broom this week.
We made a very important purchase this week.
He said I upgraded my vehicle. So, yes, he was so proud.
It's taken us 3 weeks to find the right one.
He said I had to test drive multiple ones. So, yes.
But no, we need to honor the women that are behind us. So
absolutely, yeah. And I just always am very aware of the fact that one of the things that we've said in our marriage, or I have said in our marriage, is that Patrick is the sun and I am the moon. And going back to the moon phases of the world that we talked about last week, but he gets all the light and the shine, and I'm very aware of that and I support that. But there's a lot that happens when the moon is out that a lot of times people don't see. And I think that there are a lot of women who are very, very much in that kind of conversation, if you will. And I alluded to this in the past, that like strong women in agriculture is a huge passion of mine. Raising the next generation of women in agriculture is extremely important to me. Once upon a time when I was growing up, agriculture was a man's world. And just something as simple that men never think about, that we as women have had to have conversations about, is what do we wear to a business meeting? What do we wear to a farm field day?
Right.
Because you guys kind of have a uniform, if you will, and myself and a lot of the women that I know of are not khaki pants people. So then we wear jeans and a nice shirt. Well, what does that look like? And then how do we earn respect? But all these different things that have kind of come into play, that quite honestly, agriculture was created as a man's world. But the perspective that women bring to that is just transforming the industry in a lot of exciting ways.
Right. We talk about that. The women is always viewed as the person that stayed in the house and cooked and cleaned. But quite honestly, if it wasn't for Amy, my world would be even more chaotic, because she's the one that keeps the calendar. She's the one that reminds me of where we need to go today, what I need to, I need to, remind me of a phone call I need to make. She's the one that, balances the checkbook and figures out how to squeeze the blood out of the turnip. But then on the flip side, I remember when you were very, very much pregnant with Michaela, we had a load of cattle come in and it was going to snow the next day, and we had to vaccinate the cattle. And that you're out there very, very much pregnant, but you jumped right on in and helped me and the other guy out to get that load of cattle processed. And so, like, where we have one hat we wear, you all have multiple hats.
Well, and I appreciate that you recognize that. I really do, and I appreciate the fact that women are becoming a more of an equal partner, if you will, in these conversations. Once upon a time, there was a hierarchy of land distribution, that it was always the eldest son, or it was always, the who the girl was going to marry, even in this ancient kind of system, archaic system. And now, some of the greatest women that I know are partners in their operations and truly are making a difference, and doing a lot of dynamic things for the industry. And we, can name absolutely countless names of people that are doing great things. From one of my personal heroes is Mitzi Perdue, who was married to Frank Perdue, who obviously most people know from Perdue Chicken, but Mitzi is just a headstrong, educated woman who has made it her life's mission to mentor people like me, and be accessible to people like me, and so she wrote a book about her husband, and I just not to plug her book, but the title of her book was Tough Man, Tender Chicken. And it was about trying to start the industry, and for most of us, Perdue Chicken is a household name, if you will. And, I grew up watching, Frank Perdue on TV. But to understand the role that Mitzi had in that and in his success, and the advice that she gave during some of those struggles and during that growth, inspires me to just remind me I'm not by myself.
Right. You're not alone.
I know. Even this past weekend, we were having breakfast at a local diner with a great sweet potato producer and his wife. And, again, the stories that they can tell. And he is very well known for being, about business and knowing, bottom lines and all of those things. And again, everything for them is 100% about their family and about their next generation. And we were able to talk about their kids and talk about their grandkids and talk about all of those things. And I think, like I said, us as women being able to kind of model that conversation.
It's always scary every year whenever the agri women do their fly-in. I always wonder, y'all getting in a room together and you're starting trading notes, the secret's out.
You're right. I mean, it's a lot of times it's a
therapy session.
Those who are my friends in agriculture will definitely agree. We may be in different states, but a lot of times our problems are definitely the same. But I also want to say, because as we were talking about women, that the women in agriculture kind of lost a very, very dear friend this week in a very heartbreaking farm accident, an ag accident, if you will, and due to no fault, or anything like that, it was just
a freak thing.
And we talked last week about how people may not know everybody's name and know what they do, but for us and for our family and for countless other farming families across the country, this was a powerhouse of a woman who just was, led by example and, commanded respect.
We watched her come into the industry. She didn't start out in the industry, and she openly talked about it. But she grew up and developed and really became, like the word to use is a powerhouse, right? Because there was times whenever I needed to, with our role with U.S. Cattlemen, I needed to talk to somebody. And she's like, I'll make it happen. And next thing you know, it was, here's your date and time and here's your meeting. Like, she had the means in D.C. to get stuff done.
And then she had the follow through.
Right.
Because not only would you have the meeting, but you would also have the communications afterwards that let you know that you were heard and again, I said this earlier, but she brought the receipts to the conversation and kept the receipts so that it didn't just...
And then she had the job of keeping us all together. she was almost like our mamas. A bunch of grown men, and here she is. Get over here.
I don't think she ever saw herself as your mom.
No.
Honestly, I think if she saw herself as anything,
equal,
it was 100%.
Right.
And I think you guys treated her that way.
Right.
And again, for me, she was a dear friend. She was actually my friend. I knew her before Patrick did. And then she became a mentor to our daughter when our daughter interned for Senator Tillis in Washington, D.C. And just, an amazing thing. And so as we talk about the National Day of the Cowboy, and as we talk about the women behind them, just wanted to make it kind of a point that people across our country are doing hard things. They're doing some stupid things, but they're also just doing some really hard, life-changing things to make a difference for rural America. And we are so blessed to be a part of those people. And so we're so thankful for them. And our world is a little bit sadder because of the loss of this sweet lady.
Right. Same storm, different boats.
Yeah, same life, different outlooks. Same situations, different reactions from Patrick and I. Very, very much so.
Let's talk about anxiety, where... For me, it's what's to worry about, and then you've written a 1,000-page book on all the different ways something could happen.
Very much
Anxiety.
so. Very much so. And that kind of played out for us this week. Okay, so
Wonder Boy.
Before I get to Wonder Boy, as he's affectionately known, I also want to just say that trauma, when you live in a farming family, is a very real thing.
It's overused.
No. I have major trauma about my phone, okay?
Hey, another major trauma. You are not leaving the house without a bra on.
Okay, and again, this is not what we planned to talk about, but let me tell you. True story. He's laughing and he's cutting up because he knows it's true. So we own, the meat processing plant, all of these things, and one morning, just one.
Out of 30 years, one.
I decided to sleep in.
Right.
I thought, he's got it. He's got our son. Everything's fine. We had customers that were going to be there. Like, it was fine, but I was going to sleep in. And so I was laying in bed, just scrolling through social media, whatever. And the car or truck or something had broken down along the way. We had livestock coming that morning at the plant. And Patrick had a busy day, and our son, at the time, was still in high school, was with Patrick, and our daughter was in Alabama at Auburn. So, it was just me. But anyway, he calls me, and he's like, the truck's broke down. We've got cattle coming in a few minutes. I need you to get over here so I can take your car and you can go get the truck fixed. I was like, I'm still laying in bed. I don't even have a bra. You don't have time for that. You don't have time for that. Come on, let's go. Come on. And he's yelling at me. And so I'm like, okay, what? So stupid stupid. I learned my lesson. I did not take the 30 seconds that was required to put on a bra. Didn't do it. I was like, okay, he called. He's in a hurry. Let me go. And I go running to go get to him in this high anxiety moment, all of these things. And again, just to simplify this story, I ended up, this was like at 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't think I got back home until like 5 or 6 that night, because I ended up having to do a gazillion errands for this one while also working on the truck and doing all the things. And all I have said ever since then, whenever he says something to me, is I will always take the 30 seconds and put on a bra. It's going to happen. So, like, if you see me in town, you will know. I may still look like a hot mess, but
you're going to have a bra.
I'm going to have a bra. So,
let's circle back. Let's get back on this train on track.
Yes, okay. So
Wonder Boy.
Yeah, okay. So, Wonder Boy this week. So, trauma. And, like, again, all the times my phone rings and I'm always like, what's going on? And what new thing are these stupid cowboy tricks are they going to pull at me? Well, my phone rang at 11:30 at night, and I was asleep and I didn't hear it. Well, I rolled over, saw I had a missed call at like 2, and I immediately texted Wonder Boy back and I said, are you okay? Normally he is awake at this point, and or he'll hear his phone. And he didn't respond. And so I was like, okay, probably nothing wrong. He's asleep. So then, but what does that do for Mom? Mom did not go back to sleep the rest of the night because, no disrespect to anybody or anything on the news, but there have been a lot of like scary college kid things happening on the news that have been front and center in the media. And my mom brain immediately went to, what if something happened and I was his last phone call, that he was trying to call me for help and I slept through it?
How do you get there? But then your anxiety then causes me to have the anxiety, because then I started at 6:30 yesterday morning, calling him and texting him and calling him and texting him, and didn't answer. And for 4.5 hours, I had to have your anxiety, which then caused me to have the anxiety. And then why did he call?
He had accidentally called me while trying to call our daughter because he needed the Disney Plus login information, because he wanted to watch Drake and Josh or Phineas and Ferb or something.
So we had 1,000 different scenarios. Now, let me ask you a question. Was a forgotten password to a streaming service one of the scenarios you came up with?
That was not one of the scenarios that I came up with in my head.
So you spent all that energy and all that time and still didn't get in the direction that you were supposed to be in.
But again, I can't help how my brain goes. My brain has been conditioned to think about the worst possible thing and how I would prepare for that.
If overthinking was an Olympic sport, you'd bring home gold and I'd forget to register.
Probably. Now, as we've gotten older and as we've gotten, whatever, you have gotten to where you do understand where anxiety plays in your life. For example, we have watched him, and he says, I don't have anxiety. However, if you ever see Patrick and he starts rubbing his head and like takes his hat off and it's like rubbing his head, it's about to explode and you probably need to stand back because he's feeling stressed.
Right.
That is anxiety.
But it's my anxiety that I'm not perpetuating on anybody else.
But
I'm not forcing that. Well, but ignoring the problem doesn't cancel it. But at least you get to enjoy dinner.
I totally understand what you're saying.
But
I just feel so much better when I know where everybody's at, I know where everybody is, I know what the expectation is of me, I can breathe, I'm good, they're grown, I'm not worried about their ability to handle things.
So what's the difference between us and our parents? Where our parents didn't have Life 360 or Find My Friends, and they didn't have those abilities.
And
how did they make it?
They lived in oblivion. Our parents had no clue what we were doing. Let's be real. One of the first things you ever did was, Mom, I'm at the library.
Right.
No.
I was always at the library.
No.
And fun fact, my son's freshman year of college was the first time I ever stepped foot in that library.
True story.
True story.
True story.
I was like, oh.
Okay. But we pride ourselves. A lot of times people laugh at our family who really know us and stuff, and they're like, we have such a great relationship with our children. And to be clear, our children are amazing and great and competent in spite of us,
right.
Not because of us. But our children tell us stuff. And so I'm not telling you we know everything, but it's going to be really rare for you guys who really know our children to shock us about who they are.
He was somewhere the other day. He said, and he was with somebody, and their mama said, don't tell your mama what I'm doing. And he was like, my parents already know what we're doing.
But because I know, I worry.
Well,
I do.
Well, then we should keep you in the dark.
No.
So we're not supposed to keep you in the dark.
Don't keep me in the dark. No.
You're gonna have a stroke. This is not healthy. It
may not be healthy, but I'm telling you, it is so...
It's not healthy.
I'm getting there. And all I can tell you is I am so thankful, even in the midst of all the chaos and the anxiety, that for something as trivial as the Disney Plus password, our kids feel confident enough to reach out to us and to each other in the middle of the night.
Right.
There is nothing that's off limits. There's nothing they can't tell us. And so, yes, I will be okay with the anxiety. We'll be all right.
So, we'll leave it like this. Are you team through the storm, or are you team forecast the flurry?
You're definitely through the storm. I'm going to forecast every flurry that could possibly come, and I'm going to know what's going to happen.
So we're going to roll into our front porch time. Well, it's going to be a screen porch time because it's been hot and them gnats are relentless this week.
I'm telling you, everywhere we go, I feel like I'm getting swarmed by gnats, and they just gross me out.
Even Francesca was driven nuts last night.
Yes, we have a cat, and bless, it was almost like she was seeing, spirits or something because we didn't see them, but the gnats were flying around the light switch and just aggravating her. So yes, so for this porch time, we're going in on the screened-in porch on this one.
We're going to talk about rural mental health.
Yeah, and again, why all of that? Because we have seen a lot lately about the stress of what's happening in the ag world, from tariffs to lawsuits to jobs relocations, natural disasters, and
right.
All of these things that are happening that we understand impact the rest of the world, but they're felt a little bit deeper in rural America.
But the problem is that we're such proud people in rural America. The true rural America is not about handouts. It's about, pulling up bootstraps, getting jobs done, and not needing somebody to live, right? And we have that as a difference between rural and urban. But we internalize, we bury our problems because we don't want our neighbors to know we have a problem.
I can agree with that.
Problem develops, and we don't ask for help, and we don't want our wives to know and our children to know like that we have issues financially or whatever. And so it builds and builds and builds, and it's kind of like the steam kettle. If you don't have a vent, it'll explode. And so and so that's where the talk of mental health is needing to be, the conversation needs to be happening.
Absolutely. And for a long time, you weren't kind of on board with that, but even now, I've referenced this in one of our other previous episodes, that you're better with relationships than
Right.
I am. And what have you seen in some of your, for lack of a better term, friends and colleagues and people, if you will?
Well, we're understanding that we need to talk, but it's not just talking to somebody. We still run through the whole issue. We're not going to go to therapists,
Okay.
right?
All right.
And the reason why we're not going to go to therapists, we don't trust them, because we're talking about deep, dark, personal stuff that we don't want to be exposed. Because in this community, it also is a dog-eat-dog world. And if somebody knows that you have a weak link, then that sometimes is exposed, right?
Okay.
And so, but with my core group of friends and acquaintances, we can have that safe space to be able to talk about the issues that we're having and try to find a different perspective of a solution. And so, but I mean, the scary fact is today, agriculture is the number one industry for suicide rates. It's not military. It's agriculture. We're at 64% suicide rate. And so something's got to change. And so somehow or another, that change has been happening internally. And I don't know the why. I don't know if it's because of, our kids are now, saying, it's all right to go through a therapist or what, but no, we knew something needed to change.
Well, and I'm glad that conversation has kind of come up, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, something does need to change. For us, again, we've been married 30 years, and I can tell you there have just been moments where, we would look and, Patrick wouldn't get off of the couch. Because it was just so heavy of what he was dealing with here and trying to problem solve and think through. And, again, my anxiety and my own mental health would go leaps and bounds above yours and trying to think through all of that. But that was even really before we had terms like anxiety and mental health and coping skills and, all of that. But we are very proud of our daughter and the work that she is doing through the Agri-Medicine Institute and, making farmer mental health and farm family, education of things a huge priority in our state.
In the blessing or the curse that she has is she isn't somebody hired to do a job that doesn't understand what's going on. She's lived it. She's lived through, there was a natural disaster, something that we can't control, flooding, can't control it. And now, where are the cattle? How are we going to feed them? How are we going to find them? When Helene come through, Michaela was huge in moving over to the mountains because she knew, hey, I've had this personal experience as a child because we've included our children in our we didn't hide any facts into what's going on. That she was able to say to higher up people, politicians and such, this is what needs to happen. and make things happen. And so,
Absolutely.
no, we're very blessed. The industry is very blessed in the path that she's chosen and the missions that she's on.
Yeah, and again, the whole agri-medicine staff is just absolutely amazing on what they're doing. But one of the things that is happening is exactly what Patrick mentioned, was that therapists and counselors and all of those things may not be the first line of defense for somebody in farming, somebody in ag. But we highly encourage everybody, from ag teachers to extension agents to even church people in rural communities, to take the mental health first aid classes that are offered free of charge through agri-medicine and through some of these other organizations. Because what that does is that teaches me, teaches Patrick how to triage a situation. It is exactly what it says. It is first aid for the situation. You don't need, as a lay person, as a farmer, to necessarily understand how to help your neighbor get all of those issues resolved. But what you do need to know is, first, what signs to look for that are alarming. And when a friend is texting and maybe says something that, hey, that's not cool. Wait a minute, do we need to talk about that further?
Right.
And those kinds of conversations. And to be able to connect them to another trusted person that maybe can help.
Right.
For us, we realized, before our daughter, we ever really knew a lot about what the Agri-Medicine Institute was doing, and before we figured out all of that, during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that kind of spurred this podcast, if you will, was during COVID, Patrick and I became
therapists.
We became therapists.
Oh, God.
And because
we had a bench in our office, and it was like you almost want to go get some cushions because it became a couch.
Very much so, because we were a husband and wife, and we were working, and a lot of these rural people, would bring their animals to us, and we were some of the only allowed industry people that were able to be open at the time. And so wives would travel with their husbands to the meat processor at a time where maybe they didn't.
Right.
And we heard some stories.
Right. And a lot of it stemmed from they used to be able to separate in their day and have some alone time. But then when everything shut down, then they were stuck together and there was no escaping. And so that was a lot of the
issues became magnified.
Right.
And things that you used to overlook and ignore, you suddenly could not do that anymore. And so Patrick was like, why are these people talking to me? He's like, why? I don't know. But I think now, and again, we kind of see it as a blessing that people trust us with their stories. And even, again, another friend of ours, dear friend, said, called this week to talk about a marriage situation. And again, I think people are still kind of flabbergasted of, if we can make it work.
Somehow they're going to.
Yeah, and again, we are the first to admit we are a hot mess.
Right.
And if you can name it, we've been through it. 9 times out of 10, some days we're still going through it. But at a time where you don't have high-speed internet, don't necessarily have Google, all of the resources and available, it is very important that we equip our churches and our extension offices and farm supply stores, seed people, just with mental health first aid, so that we can make sure that we are taking care of those people who are taking care of us.
And why that's so important is a lot of times we're working by ourselves, right? We don't see people. We're not going to an office where there's an abundance of people that are able to observe what's going on. And so a lot of times it is the church deacons or the extension agents. These are why these are important, because they're the ones that are, who our interactions are. And it's very limited, and that's what's very important is that it's like a fleeting moment, and you've got to be able to recognize. Don't create a problem if the problem's not there, but put a pin in and say, wait a second, something ain't right, and then be able to figure out, have a plan to follow up to make sure everything's good. And there's a number that has been, a phone number has been put out there for help.
Absolutely, 988.
988.
988 is very simple.
Right.
It's available to anybody, and the great thing about it is that it can connect you with people that you feel comfortable talking to. It can be anonymous. It can
Right.
be, all of those things. But it truly can be that first
Right.
line of defense. And, again, sometimes I struggle when we started this podcast, we're going to put a magnifying glass on our lives and on ourselves, and we've kind of opened ourselves up
Right.
to all of the things. And all I can say is that we've been there, we've seen some stuff, we've heard some stuff, and we just know, whether it is, the anxiety that comes from raising children and in these rural communities and trying to navigate some of these things, or whether it is, balancing, educational things or farming stresses, or, market drops and market changes and all of that just totally can have an impact on your life and on your marriage and on your house. We get it, and we just want to make sure that everybody knows that there is people who will listen. There are safe places, and if all else fails, if 988 can't help you or doesn't help you, or that seems too overwhelming, if the Agri-Medicine Institute,
Right.
it is not, a resource that you feel comfortable using, even just texting Patrick or I and just saying, hey, I'm struggling. Hey, will you pray with me? Will you
Right.
reach out to me? If you're a church, if you're a business who's interested in making that kind of connection with your customers and
Right.
your people within your community, by all means, let us help you find that connection, because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about.
Right. And in all seriousness about it, let me put my serious face on for a moment. You may think you're in a unique situation, and the details might be unique, but the theme of it's not. We've all had these experiences, and so it is literally, you're not alone. Now, take my serious face off. If I'm part of your therapy session, I'm daggone going to be there to defend myself.
He laughs about that. He always asks, whenever you see your counselor, well, if you're talking about me, I need to be able to zoom in or whatever.
Right.
But anyway, just know,
Right.
guys, that it's summer, it's hot,
Right.
the gnats are relentless, but so are we. And if we can do it, you can do it. Just consider us exposure therapy with wings.
Right.
We got this. That's a wrap on episode 5. Thanks for sharing the screened porch breeze, the bugs, and the big feelings.
If one of your cowboy calamities hit close to home, or if you've got porch therapy wisdom, leave us a review or send a voice memo.
Your stories keep this conversation rolling. So hit us up on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or anywhere else that you find us, even the grocery store.
Till next time, keep your boots dusty, your minds clear, and remember, sometimes the best rodeo happens between your ears. See you all down the trail.
It's ours to keep.